Exercise 19-30, calculate job costs for a service company. So Coombs Realtors, a real estate consulting firm, specializes in advising companies on potential new plant sites. The company uses a job order costing system with a predetermined overhead allocation rate, computed as a percentage of direct labor costs. At the beginning of 2025, managing partner Maisie Coombs prepared the following budget for the year. So we can view the prepared budget here. And so these are all estimates. So the direct labor hours here for 19,600. These are professional direct labor costs here for 2.4 million. And then we have our indirect costs here, the office rent, support staff, salaries, and utilities. So let's see our additional information. So it says Lindsay Manufacturing Inc. is inviting several consultants to bid for work. Maisie Coombs, who wants to submit a bid and estimates that this job will require about 240 direct labor hours. So Maisie is making a bid, so we have to help Maisie make this bid. Now, to do a bid, we have to first calculate how much the job costs us, and then we'll add to that cost the profit on top of that. And that will be the final portion of this problem when we get to that. So let's go ahead and close out. And so we have requirement 1 here. We have compute Coombs Realtors A, hourly direct labor cost rate, and B, predetermined overhead allocation rate. Begin with A, hourly direct labor cost rate. So over here we have a screenshot of the slide from our PowerPoint presentation where we step through this whole process. So for the first step, what we're trying to do is figure out this $50 per hour of direct labor. So the way we calculated that is we took the salary benefits, in other words, the cost of the lawyer, the professional, and divided it by the number of hours he was estimated to work in that year, which was 50 weeks because he got 2 weeks off times 40 hours. So again, we're trying to calculate this per hour of direct labor. So notice on the right, the way we did it was we took the estimated direct labor costs. So here's for our formula, we're going to with the estimated direct labor costs and divided by estimated direct labor hours. So that's going to be estimated direct labor hours. And that will give us our direct labor cost rate. So let's go back to our budget here to pull those numbers up. So we have estimated direct labor costs. So that is going to be here. This is 2.45 million. So we can copy and paste. And then that's going to be divided by estimated direct labor hours. So that is given to us here for that 19,600. And then we're going to do our math, and that is going to give us $125 per hour. And then we can go ahead and check our answer. Fantastic. Okay. Now for the second part here, we have now compute the Coombs Realtors B predetermined overhead allocation rate. So now for this part B, we are calculating the overhead because remember we have to figure out how much of the office rent, support staff salaries, and utilities this bid will require. So the way we did that before is we took the predetermined overhead allocation rate by taking the expected indirect costs and dividing by the expected direct labor hours. But in this case, this company is computing it as a percentage of direct labor costs. So what we're going to do is take our estimated total indirect costs and divide by direct labor costs estimated. So then we have estimated total indirect costs here for this formula, and then we are dividing that by the estimated direct labor costs. So let's first get our estimated total indirect costs. Let's pop open our calculator because we're going to need to add this office rent, support, staff salaries, and utilities together. So 370,000 for the office rent, then those support staff salaries, that is the 1.2825 million, and then we add the utilities for that 430,000, and that is going to give us a total of 2.0825 million. So we can go ahead and enter that in. Use the handy enter key to do that. And then we are going to need our estimated direct labor costs. And again, those have been given to us here. So we just use this 2.45 million. And then that's going to need to get calculated here. So let's go ahead and divide by the 2.45 million. And that is going to give us a percentage of 85%. So go ahead and enter that in. And again, I had that as a decimal, but you can go ahead and turn this into a percentage by multiplying by 100. So again, 85% is the predetermined overhead allocation rate here for Part B. So what this 85% represents is how much per direct labor costs, per dollar of direct labor costs, how much we will assign these indirect costs of office rent, support staff salaries, and utilities. Let's go ahead and check our answer. Well done. Okay. So requirement 2, we're going to compute the predicted cost of the Lindsay manufacturing job. So we have to figure out the total cost of this job, and now remember, this job, we think, and some additional information, is going to require about 240 direct labor hours. So we'll input direct labor here first, and then 240 hours, so we're given that number here. And then we're going to need our direct labor cost rate, which we calculated here at 125 per hour. $125 per hour, I should say. So we can go ahead and calculate that through, get our calculator out. So 240 hours times $125 per hour. That's going to give us 30,000 right there. So we think the direct labor to do this job is going to cost us $30,000. So now we have to assign some of the overhead, the indirect costs to this job as well. So the percentage here we calculated was 85%, the predetermined overhead allocation rate. So we'll input 85%. And that's going to be 85% of this cost here, this 30,000. So we'll go ahead and multiply by 0.85 to get 25,500. So we'll go ahead and input that 30,000 there and input our answer. And why are we using that $30,000 cost again to determine this? It's because, remember up here, it says predetermined overhead allocation rate computed as a percentage of direct labor costs, which is again that 30,000. And again, that keyword here is costs, not hours. So we're going to go ahead and add our indirect labor to our direct labor here, and that is going to give us a total here for the predicted cost of 55,500. And then we can go ahead and check our answer. Fantastic. Okay. So now for requirement 3, we have if Coombs Realtors wanted to earn a profit that equals 45% of the job's costs, how much should the company bid for the Lindsay manufacturing job? Okay, so to calculate the bid here, we're going to take the total predicted cost, which we just calculated, of this 55,500, and then we're going to add the desired profit. And again, what is that desired profit here? It is 45% of this job's cost, which is then 45% of this 55,500. So we're going to go ahead and open our calculator real quick. take 55,500 and multiply that by 45% or 0.45. And that's going to give us 24,175 for the desired profit. And then in order to get our required service revenue, we have to add the total predicted cost to the desired profit. So we can go ahead and just add on that 55,500 to get our total here of 80,475. That is our required service revenue, so that is going to have to be our bid amount in order to turn this 45% profit here. So let's go ahead and check our answer. Excellent.